welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Sweetie for those of you who are new here, and it is September. Fall season's coming pretty soon, which means it's time for the thrillers, it's time for the cozy mysteries, it's time for all those kind of books. I do have to go get my books for the month. I'm going to go to Barnes & Noble today. I was thinking of going to the library, but I think I might not have time for that today, so I'm just gonna go to Barnes & Noble. Later on in the week, I'll probably go to the library and then back to Flirting with Fiction because I really like that store and I know they have blind dates with books, so I do want to try out one of their books. I had coffee earlier and I still am a little bit jittery from that, so I don't know if I'm gonna get a drink today. Probably not. You know the drill for these kind of bookish blogs. Let's go.
Every minute slipping by, even when I close my eyes, ruthless I know. You might even wonder why I go MIA sometimes. I can't deny. Try to hold on to the things I can't keep. Through my fingers, I was losing control.
Okay, so I kid you not, I spent about an hour just browsing at Barnes & Noble, which kind of, I wish I spent an hour browsing in an indie bookstore because I realized I have no idea what I'm going to read this month. I wanted to get into the cozy vibes, but it's kind of hot, so it's hard to do that. And I wanted a mystery, I wanted a horror, I wanted a high fantasy kind of epic fantasy book. But when I was looking at the fantasy books, I got so overwhelmed and very intimidated by some of these books. I had such a hard time finding something. So I'm actually at Target. I did buy a few things at Barnes & Noble, but I am going to go to Target because I know that they have the books I wanted at Target for a discounted price. So I'm going to do that and get my remaining books there. Let's go to Target really quick and get the rest of my books.
If I spend all my days searching for gold, I would be running out of time to see all your beauty and beyond.
So I am going to go get ice cream. The plan was just to walk in and go get some ice cream, but then I realized we're going to downtown and the bookstore's open today, so instead of going to the gym, we're getting ice cream, and I'm gonna see if they have their blind date with the books at the bookstore. I'm going back to Flirting with Fiction because it was so cute. So cute, very spontaneous. We're mostly going for ice cream. I just happened to remember that the bookstore's nearby, so yeah, let's go.
Sparrows around me speak of a boy. They've met him before, hidden in castle walls, fine silky clothes. Looks great for sure.
So it's been a few days and I don't think I'm going to go to the library, and if I do, it might be way later on during the month. It's time to do a quick book haul. So these are all books that I bought. Let's start off with my books that I already owned and are going to be part of my September TBR. So the first one is Assistant to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Mayer. We'll figure out how to say this name. This has been on my TBR for quite a bit. The first time I heard about it, it sounded very interesting, so I really wanted to read it. But then after a while, I'm just like, is it really something I want to read? But you know, I think it'd be a good transition book. Villainy, kind of morally gray character, which I don't know, feels kind of spooky, gives a little bit of spooky vibe. I got this, I believe, last month or 2 months ago through Amazon, through a book mail. Yeah, I think it was last month. So This is going to be part of my September TBR. The other book I had at home that I bought back on Romance Bookstore Day is Raised on It by Lisa Shelby. This is an indie book. It's a signed copy and everything, so that's pretty nice. And this is supposed to be a small town romance, which felt fitting for the day it was. I wanted to buy a romance book, supported a local bookstore and an indie author. They're from the Pacific Northwest for sure. So this will also be part of my September TBR. So now my Barnes & Noble book haul. Honestly, I had such a hard time figuring out what to read next. I wanted something kind of spooky, something kind of fall-like, but also I just didn't have anything on my TBR that kind of gave off those vibes too much. I was just browsing, which I kind of regret not going to a bookstore like Powell's or this other local bookstore that we have here, or even the library, because I was just literally browsing. I didn't have anything in mind to buy. There was only one book, or technically two books, that I wanted to buy. For Barnes & Noble, the first book that I knew I was going to get was Unwanted by Mia Sheridan. At first I thought this was just going to be kind of like a mystery thriller book, but in the section that I found it at Barnes & Noble, it seems like it was part of the romance section. So I think it's going to be a romance book with a mystery aspect to it. So I'm actually kind of excited to read this. This is exactly the kind of vibes I wanted. You know, I wanted something thriller, not necessarily romance, but like a thriller mystery, like something cozy also. But I think this was like kind of the perfect combination of what I was looking for, and I'm excited. I'm excited to read this. I'm very excited to read this one. And then after that, I had no idea what else to get. I was looking for The Pumpkin Spice Cafe by Lori Gilmore. We're going to read that for the book club I'm in. So I was looking for that book, but it turns out they didn't have it at Barnes & Noble, and I think you could only like order it online if you wanted a physical copy. But I wasn't sure if I actually wanted a physical copy, so I just got it on my Kindle instead for $1. And then going back to our Barnes & Noble haul, because I had no idea what I wanted to read, I was just kind of like, okay, I'm just gonna look at my TBR and then browse as well and see what I find. So the second book I picked up was The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. This book has been recommended to me by a few people, and I was so undecided about getting this because it's like a World War II kind of story. I think that's when it takes place, or that's the theme of it. I was not sure if I wanted to read it or not around this time. Like, I wasn't sure if that's what I was looking for. But literally while I was shopping and browsing around, I had picked it up, and this lady came by and was just like, oh, I love that book. That was such a great read. You'll have a lot of fun reading it. And I'm just like,
Oh, okay, thank you.
and I still wasn't exactly sure if I should get it or not. So I kind of put it down and like took another lap around Barnes & Noble to see what else I can see. And then I came back over here. I picked it up again because I'm just like, okay, maybe I'll get it. And then one of the people that works at Barnes & Noble asked me if I needed any help or anything like that, and I said no, and they commented about how this was such a good book. And I'm just like,
Okay, well that's 2 people in a span of an hour that have already said this is a good book.
and I've had quite a few people recommend this book, and I've never read a book by Kristen Hanna before. I'm just like,
Okay, might as well just start off with this book.
that's how we ended up with this one right here. So this is also going to be part of my September TBR. We'll see how it goes. And so then lastly at Barnes & Noble, I really wanted like a fantasy series, like a high fantasy series. I actually either wanted to start reading The Witcher, Malice, or The Lord of the Rings. I was kind of thinking something in between those, but I was so intimidated. I don't know why. So intimidated by the books. Oh, I remember why. Because there was people around that area that were talking about the books, and they were like super fanatics, and I felt very intimidated just going up there and picking up a book. I don't know why. I really don't know what happened. I had a little bit of anxiety, and I'm just like
I don't know if I'm ready for something like this.
but I really wanted like a fantasy book. I was just really in the mood for a fantasy book, and like something that I would get thoroughly invested, how I did with Throne of Glass. I wanted that feeling all over again, obviously with like a high fantasy book though, an epic fantasy. But I don't know, I got too intimidated and chickened out, and I'm like,
Let me go look at the romantasy section.
the romantasy section instead. And this actually has not been on my TBR, but I've seen it quite a bit around Barnes & Noble, and they even had like a collector's edition, so I was close to buying a collector's edition, but I did not. I decided to just get the regular paperback, and that's Guild by Raven Kennedy. This is a romantasy series. I think it's been compared to A Court of Thorn and Roses. I'm not sure if it's true or not. I haven't heard anyone talk about it, surprisingly. even though it seems to be a very popular book. I've never heard anyone talk about it, and yeah, so I'm kind of interested. I think this is like a 5-book, 6-book series, something like that. The last book is just coming out, I believe, this month. So I just wanted to get invested in a long series again. So here we are. So that's what I got at Barnes & Noble. So then after, I knew I wasn't going to get it at Barnes & Noble because I wanted to get it at a cheaper price because
Yo girls, trying to save money and we're gonna try to go where the deals are at.
so if I can get a deal out of it, I will get it. The next book I bought was Listen for the Lie by Amy Tintera. So this book has also been in my TBR for a few months now, but I really wanted to leave these mystery thriller books to like this season once I kind of got tired of romance, because I read a lot of romance in the summer. It's what I'm usually in the mood for, and I am tired of romance, so I feel like this would be a good book. And then lastly, I talked about going to this other local bookstore, Flirting with Fiction. I absolutely love that store. It's super cute. And I was going for a blind date with the book, but if they didn't have any in stock while I went, I was going to just get another book, right? So it turns out they didn't have any the first time I went. I went back when they told me they'd have them. I was probably there too early because I was there when they opened, and they didn't have any yet, and said they'd be ready later that day or maybe the next day. And I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to browse around and see what they have. I stumbled upon this book called Witches Get Stuff Done by Molly Harper. So it's a witchy, spooky vibes book. Seems to be kind of like a small town romance situation, but make it like spooky edition. And yeah, I think this will be a nice kind of fluffy book in between maybe more serious stuff. And at that bookstore, I also got this sticker. Inserts himself where. I saw the sticker and I cackled. It was a little embarrassing, but I liked it so much. I'm just like, I'm gonna get it because I'm slowly collecting stickers so I can decorate my Kindle, because I'm going to eventually like decorate my Kindle, and I'm just collecting them at the local bookstores or anywhere I see like a sticker that I like, and I'm just gonna use them. That's what I got there. So this is my September TBR right here. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 books, which is great because I don't think I'm gonna have that much time to read this month since I already started all of this kind of late. I think this is a good appropriate TBR. I think this one might take me quite a bit because it looks really big and it is a fiction book. It's just a regular fictional book. Those tend to take me a little bit longer. I'm actually excited. Considering that I wasn't sure what I was going to read this month, I'm very excited. Next month, I'm gonna definitely get into all that spooky stuff. That's what I wanted to do this month. I wanted to do more spooky stuff. Oh, Pumpkin Spice Cafe is on there too. But anyway, I wanted to read more spooky stuff so then y'all can have recommendations for a spooky season, but it didn't work out. It's fine. It's fine. But yeah, I think that's it. I'm gonna end it here. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe. I have to start remembering to save this stuff at the end of my videos. But yeah, thank y'all so much for watching. Have a beautiful day, and I will see y'all next time. Bye!